Get ready for an epic collaboration as MB Radio and Patriot Radio join forces. These veteran-owned stations are uniting to bring you top-notch, veteran-run podcasts, along with your favorite classic rock music 24/7. Stay tuned for the ultimate radio experience that celebrates our heroes and plays the tunes that never get old. From engaging discussions to timeless hits, this partnership has everything you need for your listening pleasure. Don't miss out on this exciting new chapter in radio history as MB Radio and Patriot Radio come together to rock your world.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm Amber.
And I'm Laura.
And my daughter is always clowning me about the intro.
Okay, it's better than what it was when we never mind. It's okay. Everything is a work in progress here.
Yeah. Yes, and that was done on the fly within like 5-10 minutes.
I was just laughing to myself. I didn't realize you were going to call me out for laughing at you.
I'm going to call you out.
Welcome here, everyone, today. We very much appreciate having you. We have a very special guest today.
Yes, Toddie One Skip. Issues with Toddie One Skip off of YouTube. And so we're going to meet her today. And let's see, our interview of the week today is sponsored by LTD Tactical.
Interview of the week sponsored by LTD Tactical.
Hello, everybody. And like I said, Toddie One Skip is our guest today. And I was so thankful to her because we've kind of had a busy couple of weeks with a lot of things that have happened. And she was very gracious and just agreed to come on. And so I'm very thankful to you, Toddie, for coming on last minute.
Well, again, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So if you could please just kind of, well, actually, I'll just tell everybody how I found you. I found you on YouTube when I was trying to figure out more about Gypsy Rose, and you came up in my For You page. And from the moment I saw you, I was like, oh, man, this lady is super interesting, and I want to know more about her.
Wow, I appreciate that. It seems like it seems like that's the case, and I didn't realize I was as interesting as I think people find me, I guess.
Grateful. You know, I'm actually finding that a lot of the content creators are just as interesting or have just as interesting stories as the people that they talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, when I first started talking on, you know, YouTube, it was a podcast, and it was more just to express myself. I was a writer for a long time, and all of a sudden, like I lost that attraction to it. I don't know what happened. So I was spiraling for a while, you know, and I really couldn't find a purpose. And a few people said, you know, you should do this, you should do, and you know, during the time when we were all shut down, I was like, you know, I got really into watching YouTube and everything, and I was traveling with people, you know, the virtual traveling. I mean, it was amazing. And everything that was on YouTube, I really exposed myself to YouTube for the first time. And I thought, I got stuff I want to say to put out there, you know, in cyberspace and have it last forever. So, yeah, that's what kind of happened here.
Yeah. And I basically, the VA sent out a newsletter asking veterans if they wanted to podcast or learn how to podcast. And I had been thinking about it for a couple of years. And I've actually heard you talk about it as well. Just finding interesting people like the everyday person you don't realize how many people have such vast experience and knowledge and all the things that they've been through. And at one point, I had actually wanted to go to nursing homes around the area and do interviews and collect their stories and maybe either put it in book form or a YouTube form of something. I'm not sure exactly. Yeah.
Share their stories. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some amazing people out there, amazing people that have actually, and I'm not putting down the younger people at all, but I mean, people that actually walked this earth and everything was real. It wasn't virtual. Everything they saw was real to the touch. And you know, especially the elderly people that have been through so much and have seen so much, you know, like you don't really think about everything they've gone through until you're getting closer to that age. And you're like, wow, I can only imagine what they've seen. You know what I'm saying? So I think everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a story to tell. You know,
the crazy stories can come from the people you expect them the least. So
and actually, and I got the idea from Laura's great grandfather. He's a very interesting guy. He worked for Standard Oil and he was in World War II. And he actually went into Japan after the bombs were dropped and everything. And just learning more about him. I was like, wow, this guy's been in my life for how many years, and I did not know the depth and
anything about him.
Yeah.
Everyone has a story.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So, Toddie, tell us your story. Tell us about you and who you are.
So, my real name obviously is not Toddie One-Skip, but I'm not prepared to put it out there. But
totally understand that.
I get that.
Yeah. So, but the surname Todd is a name that I picked when I was writing, as you know, a name that I would write under, and so it's been with me for about over 40 years. You know, the name, and how it came about on just the name per se is that one day I had lost a Facebook account under my real name, and I couldn't get it back, and I put one under this name, and that's how people started to get to know me. That, I mean, it's amazing the power of the internet, because once you put it down, so all of a sudden people started calling me that name, and I'm like, yeah, that's not my name. I would get paychecks, believe it or not, under that name. I'm like, I can't cash this.
Oh, wow, really?
No, I mean, like I was just a server at the time in a really small restaurant. I'm like, I can't, that's not my name, you know? So,
totally get it.
You know, then somebody called me Toddie one day, and that kind of stuck. And then I went to mail them something that you guys had talked about earlier. Laura, it was you that had went to a store, right? So I went to mail somebody, and I just put Toddie One-Skip. It came to me, and it just kind of stuck. So that's how that happened. But you know, I worked. You know, I've always wanted to be a writer, and most of my life, I took positions just to support my writing, you know. But I would get these like really weird positions. Like I went in for a job, and it ended up being a detention center, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, I was young, so I was in my 20s, and I said, oh, juvenile. I went with juvenile right away, not realizing that detention center just a place to restrain people. You know, so
I realized exactly what it
there was 21 male inmates, and
oh wow,
and they weren't children, they weren't kids. But later in life, I went into that after I spent about 9 years inside of the jails. And then I went back to the jail. So I really don't remember exactly how many years. It's probably over a decade that I spent in the jails. But then I thought, well, you know, if I could get to the people before they end up in jail, maybe, you know. So that's when I started working. You know, it was years later, but that's when I started working with children as far as, trying to, and that was in a residential drug treatment center. So, I spent a lot of time being locked up, but being able to go home at the end of the night. So, and then, I owned a recording studio somewhere in there from like 1999 to 2002 in Dania, Florida. I owned a recording studio. But I'm not a very good business person. So unfortunately, and I got robbed at gunpoint coming out of the studio one night. So there was a couple factors that made me say, yeah, I can't do the studio anymore. But I mean, so I've done a few things. I've done some stuff, and I was in the witness protection program. I know you guys were interested in that. That was, we gotta thank my dad for that one. I was just along for the ride. I was just along for the ride.
So what? We'll get into that later. But what makes somebody like you, who's interested in writing and in songs and things like that, go work at a jail?
Yeah. So again, everybody has a story to tell, and I have written plenty of jail dramas. So, I mean, I've always found it fascinating, sociology anyway. I've always found it fascinating how people could live within a certain like culture or certain restrictions or whatever. And inside of the jail was absolutely fascinating because it's its own world.
For sure.
Because that's everything that exists for these people. Everything that exists for them is inside that jail. Everything they need from you is inside that facility. And so when you leave, there is a distinct difference. So I found it just fascinating how people survive. And you got to remember, I mean, there's big people that were intimidating. And then there's these smaller inmates that are like, oh my God, am I going to see them in the morning? And I mean, that's really extreme, but in jail, there's not a lot that really happen. I shouldn't say that. There are things that happen in jail, but they're more likely to happen in prisons because in jail, people are there for a shorter period of time. So they're either there, and I've said this a million times, everybody that goes to prison has been to jail. But not everybody that has been to jail has been to prison because they have shorter periods of time. So their behavior is not going to be as bad. Hopefully those really horrible inmates, the ones that have been there for like vicious acts aren't, I saw them, but they were, kept in their own cell in the SHU, special housing unit. And, but it's fascinating. There's a lot of stories. I can sit back now and there's funny things that still make me crack up. And, it was just fascinating to see how people could go from like one extreme to the other. And then, if you became, I don't want to say friendly with them because you really couldn't be, but I guess I was. I mean, just some of them, like one guy, he just didn't belong there, but he belonged there. It was a white collar crime guy. It was a small little Jewish guy, and he did not fit in. He did not fit in.
I bet.
And he looked Jewish. And, listen, I don't mean anything by that. My family's Jewish, but I mean, when somebody's like, they're going to get picked on, he had that all over him, but he didn't, and, just him surviving in there and, and he came from a good family. He just wanted more. He got greedy at work. It was embezzlement. He was embezzling money and stuff. And so, it certainly wasn't violent acts, but he was in there with, people that were, had drug charges and such like that. And some people that, I don't want to say were horribly violent, but, they did some stuff. And here was this guy just trying to make it in there. One of the cooks in the jail was this incredibly brilliant he was like a big deal on Wall Street or something. And, you know, he just, again, wanted more than I guess he should have had. So it's just the people, it's just fascinating. It was just fascinating, the difference in the people there and just, you know, their stories. And I think also because my dad was incarcerated, you know, I'm pretty sure that had something to do with it, because I remember that I wanted to be very fair. I knew that I wanted to be very fair inside of the jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that came from the fact that I wanted my dad to be treated fair, even though by the time I started working in the jail, he was out of it. He was out. He was, he was living a good life. He was doing, you know, much better. And, you know, it was his second chapter that he was in.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was just thinking, I always think about that, like about how you can go to prison or jail for literally anything. And they have, you know, the nonviolent offenders with the craziest people. And it's just like, oh my goodness. And there's no way to separate them. And I mean, I understand the complication in trying to separate them, but it's just so crazy, the wide array of people that you can meet under those circumstances.
Yeah. And my cousin is in prison, and I've talked about her before on here. And she tells me about some of the women in there, and I'm just shocked. I'm shocked because it's like you've got women who are like legitimate gangsters, and then you've got women who are like speaking 7 languages and have been in the military and things like that. And it's like, whoa, you know, you don't. I never.
Good and there's bad. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, and I never really thought about it. You know, until it touched me, until I had to see it. I basically just acted as if it didn't exist, or that, you know, well, they did the crime, so they need to do the time and the punishment, and who cares if they have TV, or who cares if they have whatever. You know, that's how I felt until
I
my cousin
feel
was
that way.
in
I'm
prison.
sorry, but, you know, I mean, like, here's the thing, like, you know, and I don't know if you know this, but my late ex-wife, I met her in jail. I mean, like, she was an inmate that I met through the window when she wanted her commissary. You know what I'm saying?
That's wild.
And she had a radio problem. We had a problem with the radios, and she wanted her radio replaced, which everybody did because we got faulty radios. And so I had my own drug problems in my early 20s. And I remember a couple times I got pulled over, and I was like, I don't know how I didn't end up in jail. I don't know. God was with me. And, you know, it scared me enough to say, this isn't the way I want to. I don't want my parents to pick me up from, I don't, you know, I was in my 20s. So when I went and worked there, not only did I want to be fair, but I also knew that some of the people that I'd be working with just had worse luck than me. You know what I'm saying? Had worse luck than me. And I was able to stop. And some of them, you know, they were selling drugs because they felt like that was the only thing that they could do. Some of them have never pushed a broom. Some of them just never had any kind of confidence at home. And some of them were born into it. And, you know, but they do keep, you know, the violent criminals more or less separate from the nonviolent criminals. They do. They don't like throw them all in. Sometimes when the jails are overpopulated, you know, it's murky there, but for the most part, they try to separate the two.
To an extent, but I mean, like in prison at least.
I'm sorry, women are much, you know, the women. I would much rather work with men than women because
I can see that. Yeah,
they just come out of anywhere. You know, they got stuff.
I believe it.
They got stuff on their mind from a month ago, and you know, so you got to remember that. You know.
No doubt.
Yeah, we definitely hear it gets chatty at Ellen and Chillicothe, so I can assume it probably goes for most women's prisons.
Yeah, in jail. Okay,
yeah.
we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna come back, and we're going to get more into Toddie's life and the things she's experienced. And so, everybody, please stay tuned.
Introducing J&J Beard Co., your go-to destination for high-quality handmade and natural beard products. Our family-owned business, based in New Jersey, prides itself on using the finest ingredients to bring you premium products that will elevate your grooming routine. Each product is carefully crafted with love and expertise, ensuring that you get the best care for your beard. Treat yourself to the luxury of J&J Beard Co. and experience the difference that true quality and craftsmanship can make for your beard. Join the J&J Beard Co. family today and unleash the full potential of your facial hair with our exceptional products. Find them on the web at jjbeardco.com. That's jjbeardco.com. Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. And we're with Toddie One Skip from YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for coming back and joining us. And right now, I think, Toddie, we need to get into your witness protection program experience, because I think that probably tells a lot about who you are, how you've been shaped and everything, and probably a lot of the reasons why you have chosen the careers that you've chosen.
I have no context on this, so I'm very curious. How did you end up there?
So again, through no fault of my own, or through no fault of my own.
How it always seems to be.
My dad, I guess he was a career criminal for the first half of his life, or at least the first 40% or 35% of his life. And he used to write bad checks. And, so he was incarcerated a few times even before, I was born. My parents were married twice. They married each other twice. And,
oh, wow.
And I have siblings, and two of them are from the first marriage, and then two from the second marriage, but we're, same mom, same dad.
You're all full siblings.
And that was because, my dad got in trouble with the law.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so, in all fairness to him, his dad left at a very early age. He was the oldest of four boys, and my grandmother changed his birth certificate to make him older, to make him work, and I guess put pressure on him. Not that I'm blaming my grandmother; she's not here to defend her.
Just
But I
context.
guess my dad liked the finer things in life, and so he wanted them, whether he could afford them or not. So he used to write bad checks, and then somehow he graduated from, I guess, personal checks to bonds. And back in the day, bonds were a big thing, and federal, right?
Yeah.
So you get in trouble when you get nailed with that. But apparently what happened was, I guess they caught on to him. He wasn't a very good criminal. You're a criminal, so you can't be too good. You keep getting caught. So, so this is the story that I heard. So I heard that they were going to do away with my dad. The people that he was in business with were either going to kill his wife or kill him. I don't know if, listen, the truth is, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if, and I'm sorry, but that I'm going to say, I don't know if, I was looking up at heaven there, talking to my dad. I don't know if that's actually the truth, or if the cops just nailed him and they said, hey, listen, you're a career criminal, and now you're going to get so many years because you've been caught so many times. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what, after you're caught so many times, and I mean, that was federal, they're not going to be so lenient on you. So now so I don't know if he told people, listen, you know, I did this to save my wife, not my mom, but his you know, my stepmom at the time, or if that legitimately happened. So, you know, what I was told was they were gonna, you know, they were out to get my stepmom, and my dad just rolled and turned state's evidence. So whatever happened, he did turn state's evidence. And I wasn't living with him at the time because when this deal was being made, he was incarcerated. So I used to come home. I used to come home from school, and my dad was already remarried. And my stepmom would be like, yeah, your dad, he's working late tonight. And then in the morning, I'd wake up and he was already gone in the morning. And I'm thinking, you know, my dad was very much, he wanted to have breakfast with you. You know, he was a criminal, but he was a good dad. He wanted to, he really did, when he wanted to be part of your day. He wanted to know, you know, what was going on in your life. He did know what was going on in your life because he did take an interest in that. So that's really important to say. And not that there's any excuse for stealing and all this stuff, but you know, he didn't keep it to himself. We did get the, you know, reap the rewards of that. You know, it wasn't all about keeping it to himself. But again, he did like the finer things in life. So I got a phone call. I wanted to go back and live with him. I never didn't want to live with him. And again, you know, he just got incarcerated for too long. And I have a mom. My stepmom's not my mom. So I went back to live with my mom, always wanting to go back to live with my dad and understanding he was incarcerated at this time. So I knew this. So I was about, I want to say 12 maybe. And I had went to school there before. So I wanted to go back and live with him, but I kept not hearing from him, of course, because he was incarcerated. You can't really make phone calls like that. And not back then. So no tablets back then. So anyway, I got a phone call out of the blue, and my dad was like, are you sure you want to come and live with me? And I saying to myself, yeah, it was you that dropped the ball. And I said, yeah, I want to go to such and such school because that's the school I would have been going to. And I look back on that conversation so many times now, and I remember him being so vague, but it didn't dawn on me at the time. You know what I mean? Like, and so he comes and he picks me up, or my mom meets him halfway. And, you know, because he lived in West Palm, I was in South Florida and Hollywood. So they would like meet halfway. And so, and as I'm now with my dad in his car, I've said goodbye to my mom, and I have a little brother that's staying with my mom, and my two other siblings are staying with, you know, not with my dad. So it's just me and his wife and her daughter and my dad. So I'm thinking, I'm an hour away, West Palm Beach, So I started hearing like, we're not going to the house. When there isn't a house, things are changed. And, and we go to this, it was like a shack. And I remember it was in Singer Island, and it was like a shack. It was a red and white little apartment. I want to say there might've been 2 apartments, and we go into one, and I'm like, what the, like, first of all, how are we all fitting in this little place, and why are we here?
Absolutely.
And then I started like hearing, well, we're going to be moving, and and I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck is going on? Like, wait a minute, like, where are we moving? I'm an hour away from my mom, then I started hearing, well, things are going to change, and I don't know when you're going to see your mom again. And I'm thinking,
oh wow,
so, and I think he might have said, are you sure this is what you want to do? I mean, I think he gave me an opportunity to bail if I wanted to bail, but I had a better relationship with my mom than I did with my dad at the time. And so I wanted to go. And so the next thing I know, that morning we were on a flight to Baltimore, and my dad was, he was going to turn state's evidence, go to court in Baltimore. So that's what we were going to Baltimore. And I remember that it must have been a Sunday. We must have flown in there on a Saturday, I want to say. And because I never, I'm from Florida, and I didn't know what blue light laws were, so what that is on Sundays, all the stores are closed. Well, not in South Florida, they weren't. And
we're from Florida too. So,
right? So here we are, we're in Baltimore, Maryland. And, my dad always said if they were going to put an enema anywhere, they'd put it in Baltimore, Maryland. So we're in Baltimore, Maryland, and there's, we have these guards, and they're dressed in suits, but they look like guards. I mean, I was 20 years old, and they look like your typical TV guards. The FBI agents, they look like FBI agents. I didn't know witness protection. I was young. I didn't know the different divisions, the U.S. Marshal's office from one to the other. So, and I remember when I had to go to the bathroom, how they had to go into the bathroom before me. And at 12 years old, that was kind of cool because, I felt like, a movie star because
I was just about to say
I had a bodyguard, but I remember we did go into a mall in Maryland, and there was nothing. Nothing was open. And I remember seeing all the stores closed because I never experienced that before. So it's weird what sticks with you, right? Especially as a kid. Not so much the witness protection program at the time. It was the stores being closed and why were they closed? It was a blue light. So, and then I remember we had adjoining rooms. My stepsister and I had adjoining rooms to my dad and his wife, and the U.S. Marshals were God knows where. They weren't in the room with us. If they were outside the door, that could, But I remember when we went to leave the hotel, they came back into the room and they put this. They don't have these phones anymore, but it was a landline, and they took the bottom part of
the receiver
and put the light back in there. Like there was no speaker in there. They either didn't trust me or my sister. And I think she was much younger than me, so they didn't trust me. So I remember that and thinking, so like weird things. I remember the suits. I remember, the guys in the really nice, crisp suits. And a few times I remember the jackets opening and seeing the shoulder holsters. And, when they would come into the hotel room, they would take their jacket off and you would see, the shoulder holsters. So, and then my dad had to go to, I don't know if he went, I want to say he went to Colorado. There's a federal prison out there where I guess it was I'm not sure what he did out there, but it had something to do with him testifying again. So I know he testified in Baltimore, and then there was something out in Colorado.
Now that's I was just going to say, that's the maximum security. That's where like Ted Kaczynski, and then I think they eventually moved Timothy McVeigh over there in Colorado.
I don't remember the name of the facility my dad was in, but if it's only one federal one, that's the one he was in because he was in, on federal charges. But I remember, so we still didn't know where our permanent address was. You know, we just knew we were in Baltimore temporarily. And then so he had to leave. No, Milo, he had to leave. I have to give him something or he's going to keep barking. So give me one second. Milo, you win. Come here. But I can't give you anything more than this, buddy.
No, while we're waiting, do you want to take another quick break and then we can just go ahead and get right back into it?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we're gonna go to break, Toddie, and then we'll come back.
Get back on the right page.
Okay. Let's see.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Looks like we're probably gonna play a song for this one, right?
Yeah, this is Relapse by Cade Roth and the Black Sheep.
Okay, sounds good.
When I had you, I felt no pain till you decided to up and leave. Now these withdrawals, they're killing me. You're my addiction.
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio with our guest, Toddie One Skip. And we were talking about Toddie's time in the witness protection program. And I can only imagine as a kid, especially at 12 years old, that's a very poignant time in your life as a kid where things start making sense, where you start evaluating things. You know, you're starting to come into that cognitive wheelhouse of learning and observing and all of that stuff. So I can only imagine that it had a big influence on who you are today.
It's a big pivotal moment of your life.
Yeah.
Quite a shakeup.
Yeah, I was I want to say I started I get lost with the years. So I want to say that I was probably a little bit older because I was going to high school, but just the 9th grade, which would make you like 13, 14. But I couldn't go directly to school because my records had to be changed. Like I remember my stepsister got to go because she would have been in elementary school. So they didn't make you go through and throw an elementary school kid in school. But you need records, and my records didn't come. Like, thank God I had writing at the time, because I mean, I spent so much time writing. I didn't have friends. I just got there. My name was changed. Everything was. So if you want me to continue on with the story real quick, my dad had to go, and we stayed with, officers in Baltimore, and then we were to go the next day or the day after, and we still didn't know where we were going. Like, we didn't know where we were going until we were on the friggin' plane actually going there. And and we were on a commercial aircraft, and and we were supposed to, something was supposed to happen where we were supposed to get off the plane, but for some reason when we landed, they couldn't use that door and we had to get off the other. It was all weird, but we ended up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And and later in life, I met somebody who was in the witness protection program, and they put her in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So they put people in Albuquerque, New Mexico, apparently, right?
I can see that though, because I've been through there, and Albuquerque, Tucumcari, all those places over there, that's definitely a place to hide out.
Well, you got to remember this was, so if I was in, I was going into high school, but you got to remember it took a long time for me to get into high school. So maybe I was at the end of 12, maybe 13, because I think you go into high school when you're 13 or 14. And I know I was going in my first year of high school, I'm sorry. I didn't hear
I
you.
just said I did.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anyway, so I remember my dad picking the last name out of the phone book, believe it or not. Like, he remember him picking the last name out of the phone book. And I liked it better than our true last name, to be honest with you. So I was all for it. And then, I started school. Life was that way. The U.S. Marshals were a constant presence for the first part of the move, and then they would come over pretty often. I don't remember seeing them around when we were doing things as much. If they would be different officers anyway, not the same ones that had transported us. But then, I guess the sweet deal that my dad thought he made, they didn't make, because one day I came home from school and he was in Colorado. He was doing,
wow.
He did I want to say he did a fair amount of time in Colorado. So, they were going to keep us in the program. And, but my stepmom wasn't, she wasn't up to that. She wasn't, she ended up going to Colorado and living with my dad. But I went to Florida. I went, it wasn't, and none of this was choices of my own. I wanted to stay in Albuquerque, to be honest with you. I had things set up. I was done going back and forth. Bullshit of back and forth is just, and
especially at that age.
Yeah, I would get to where I would walk into a school and know if I was going to finish. It was like I would get a gut feeling. Am I going to see the end of the school year here? And so that inconsistency throughout, my life, even before the witness protection program, but I'm sure all because of my dad's bad habits. He found stability much later. He said, I remember it, he got his life together at 45, because that sticks out in my head, because I remember doing something stupid at like 39. He was like, yeah, so you got 6 more years. So,
that's more time left.
Get your shit together. So, but he came up with a business while he was incarcerated. He came up with the idea of a business, and when he got out, he never got back in trouble again. So, kudos to him and that. But that was my experience in the witness protection program. It was weird. It's something that always, you're always on. You're always on. So that was a big help when I was working in the jails or in the residential unit with the kids, because like I could have a conversation, but I could hear you. You know what I'm saying? So I was always on, and I just started to get laxed about that. And, I kind of like being on.
You're a good observer.
No, actually, I'm like not as on. It's so weird. Okay, so I grew up in a family with drug addicts and all of that, and I kind of lived my life not noticing things a lot of times, but my husband lived in a good family and put himself into that lifestyle. And now he can read like every situation, and he knows what's going on 5 steps down the road,
Right.
It's really scary, actually. But it's been very helpful, and it's saved people, and if we could all be more observant and more able to suss things out, I think the world would be a whole lot better place.
Yeah.
Now, do you suffer any PTSD from that time?
No. There are things because, so there are things that the witness protection program, the only thing that bothers me about that, and, the only thing that bothers me about that, which is a sore subject, which I've carried for a long time, is that I don't blame my dad for, I have a mom, I didn't have the best relationship with her back then, but I loved her. It's not, I didn't want to scare her. I didn't want to not see my siblings. So, but I understood that. What I didn't understand was that one Christmas, my dad actually had my stepmom, her daughter, and me go to my stepmom's family's house. Now, when you're in the witness protection program, nobody knows where you are. I don't know what happened. Nobody knows where you are.
Sorry about that.
Okay. And everything that goes to your family, I wrote to my mom, but I had to write to my mom, care of Washington, D.C., U.S. Marshal's office, because they took the letter and if I wrote, the mountain, they crossed off mountain. My mom told me she got, if I said something about snow,
So
wow.
anything that, and she told me, so she didn't know where I was. I didn't know that, so that's obviously something, but my stepmom's family lived in West Palm Beach. I was in Hollywood. It's 60 miles. So I had resentment, and I still carry some of the resentment for what the fuck, like, why were we able to go see my stepmom's family? And here's what I was told. And, it's just like, I don't like being told untruths, even at a young age. I was never really a moron. I was always my dad's kid. So, but supposedly, and I do remember this. So we were able to send things to our families, but again, it had to go through the U.S. Marshal's office. So my stepsister had made this project in school, and and I guess she sent it to, her family in Florida. So my stepmom's mom and, her family. So apparently underneath the project was my sister's new name. Right. And the school. And it was never blacked out. And so they knew where we were anyway. Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that my stepmom missed her family and really wanted to see her family. I totally believe that. She was younger than my dad by like 15 years. And that's fine. That's fine. But if she wanted to see her family, don't you think I wanted to see mine? Like, and it was miles away. So, I mean, that is the only resentment that I have in the whole ordeal,
Well, that's very admirable, because a lot of people play the victim and take that role upon themselves, and then everything that happens it's because my dad was a piece of crap,
Yeah, no, he wasn't. I mean, that should be, a lot of the confidence and stuff that I got. So my dad was, so like I said, things started to turn around for him when he got out. He lived a really good, life, and he was able to gift me a car, right? He was able to gift me a Subaru Brat. Okay. So I don't remember, Laura, you probably don't know what the Brat is, but they're little small. They're small little pickup trucks, and the back seats of them, but they're only like one. They're not double cab. You know what I'm saying? So there's one seat, and they're small. Okay, and then the back of them on the outside in the bed, there's two plastic permanent seats that face the other way.
So, I've seen those. I've seen those. Yeah.
So it's a Subaru Brat, and that was back in the early 80s, 90s, whatever. So, so I never drove a stick. You know what I'm saying? So now Colorado, you got to remember, has got the mountains. It's not flat.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So he has me follow him in an automatic car. And because now I'm in Colorado, this is later where he's gotten out and everything. And he was like, yeah. So, and you'll drive the car back, basically I was going to drive the car back, I think from Colorado, or I don't, maybe he was coming back with the car, or they were coming back at Christmas time, whatever. But he was going to teach me how to drive this stick. So he takes me to a school, right, where there's nobody there. No, Milo. He takes me to a school where there's nobody there. And he says, okay, here's the car. Do you remember how to get back home? And I was like, yeah. And he said, okay, well, when you feel comfortable enough, I'll see you there. There's no cell phones. There's no cell phone. There's there's no nothing. But see, that's the thing. And I told him this, several years before he passed. I said, it's the shit that made me know that he had the confidence in me
which gave me the
Yeah,
confidence. I knew he loved me. I always felt loved by my dad. So he just had, you know, I knew that if he thought I could do it, I could do it, you know, so that confidence that he gave me, you know, on things like that, you know, was pretty good. So, you know, I don't have anything bad to say about my dad in regards to that. We did have a falling out about 8 years before he passed, or not even, I want to say maybe 6 years before he passed. But the last 18 months of his life was, we reconnected and everything. And it wasn't, I really don't want to blame him for that, you know. Anyway, so he did, he turned his life around. It was, I learned a lot of tools in the witness protection program just because of being in it. And yeah, it was interesting, you know, but I don't have any, I don't feel like, no, I never felt like my dad owed me anything. Even, you know, when he was incarcerated, I mean, I'd get letters from him. Like, I always felt loved by him. I didn't judge, you know, I don't know. I didn't judge what
That's awesome.
And I mean, if he, you know, pulled a gun on somebody, I'll be judging them.
Yeah, it's a little different. Yeah.
But, you know, anyway.
Yeah. Well, Alora, I think, can relate a little bit on just as far as like, so my husband, he's a former criminal way before I met him, you know, and it's been interesting raising children with somebody with that mindset and married to somebody for so long, because it's like, it's when you realize that, oh my goodness, if this person really wanted to do like terrible things, they could, because they have the mind, they have like, you know, this smart ability to just do all of these things, but they harness it and they keep it in check. And you know, it's like,
criminals are some of the smartest people you'll ever meet, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely smarter than some of us normies.
When my dad, you know, he used the same, I guess the same thought process, but used it in more of a positive light, and he became successful at that. He was a shit criminal, but you know, but he was successful as a businessman.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, yeah, I think it comes from the same place. It's, I guess it depends on how you harness it, right?
No, definitely. And that's what I've seen with my husband is that, you know, he lived that life. Then he went into the army, met me, and he's taken that evil genius, you know, mentality and harnessed it for good and done some really incredible things, you know. So yeah, he's actually the smartest person I've ever met. And I've met some pretty smart people. So.
And I think that, you know, my dad was very compassionate when he got out of the federal prison. You know, that was when he first, you know, became humbled. You know, and that wasn't I'm sorry, I was reading the thing, so I lost my train of thought. He never owned his shit. But I remember when he got out of the federal prison, he definitely did. They referred to him as Doc. Like, I don't know about that. He wasn't a physical doctor. He was, so I don't know if people went to him, you know, for advice. And I mean, that's my understanding. But I remember I went to a mall with him in Colorado, and he recognized, I guess, the daughter of an inmate that he was inmates with. And he was like, you know, I'm Doc, do you remember? And how's your dad doing? And da 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 da. And so, and my dad before then, you know, he wouldn't admit that he did anything wrong. Like, he just did it. And unfortunately, that came back to him later in life. And then he kind of, as the latter years were coming on, he became humbled again. So my dad kind of did this thing.
There's ups and lows in life.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be surprised what you can learn from people like that. I know I have been. I've been shocked. And if people would be more willing to open up their lives to, that experience, I think that they would be pleasantly surprised at some of the people that are usually disregarded or thought of as less than or an other. And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hi, Holly Jolly.
Yeah. And I did want to say hi to everybody. Para-Woman Radio or Women Radio. I always say woman. Rebrand, Holly Jolly, Laura Lynn.
Right, I saw Uncorked. I saw Para-Woman Radio. I did something with Para-Woman Radio before.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. So I think it might be about time to take another quick little commercial break.
Yeah, we're going to take another break, and then we're going to get into the weeds and talk about all of the weird, wild stuff that I'm always trying to get people to talk about, and no one's wanting to.
Hey, I'm going to talk about it. Listen, I'm going to talk about this for the sake of my brother, and then I'm going to let my brother see this because he's into all that. So I'm ready.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. We're going to listen to Should Have Known Better by Cade Roth and the Black Sheep. By the way, everybody, if you didn't know, this is my cousin's husband's band. He's Cade Roth. And so we're just supporting the family here. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's 3 a.m. Here I am again. No, I can't sleep. First time the bed is empty. Who I knew was too good to be true. I should have been a better man. I let it slip right through my hands. I should have known better. I should have known better. I should have known better than let her go. Oh, no. Now I'm sitting at home, just staring down at my phone. I'm waiting on her to come. Bang my head against the wall. I should have known better. I should have known better. I should have known better than let her.
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. And we're with our guest, Toddie One-Skip. And right now we're going to go into the weeds and talk about all of the weird stuff. Because, Toddie, I don't know if you know anything about me, but I grew up in Oklahoma. And I grew up in and around the Comanche Nation. So I lived in Comanche, Oklahoma, or Comanche County, Oklahoma, and there was a lot of different tribes around and nations, and so I grew up learning about Bigfoot and Deer Lady and all of the folklore of Native American lives and everything. So I've just kind of always been weird and believed in weird things. And then to top it off, my stepdad was an actual wizard, which Alora's always been embarrassed when I say that, but it's more of, that's what he called himself. So I'm just calling him that. So I've...
witchcraft is a thing, yeah.
Well, yeah, I know, but...
Yeah,
I know, but you used to give me crap because you'd be like, "Oh, a wizard."
Just the way you say it's interesting, but yeah, no.
I think you grow out of that, right, Alora? You start realizing that that's cool. That's their thing. It really does.
I'm like, well, it's always
embarrassment that your family puts on you. You know what I mean? We ultimately grow out of that. Yeah. I mean, I grew out of that a long time ago, but I remember going through that. Where so.
Yeah, shifting and changing and believing different things. But yeah.
So after my dad died, he actually committed suicide, and we started experiencing paranormal things. And her whole life before my dad died, and this was in 2010, we had never talked about the paranormal. We had never talked about UFOs or Bigfoot or anything like that. I just kind of kept it under wraps, and it was just something I thought about every once in a while, but not something that I really entertained too much. And then when we started experiencing these paranormal things, I started, going outside of my comfort zone to get answers, because as a Christian, no one wants to talk about it. They basically act like it doesn't exist, or that you're just crazy or a zealot or something like that. And so I just started going on a journey of just trying to figure out more stuff. And I think between Joe Rogan introducing me to Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock and George Knapp and all of these different people who talk about all these different things, I've just been really interested in what everybody thinks about all this stuff, because for so long, the topic of UFOs, that was like, you're a weirdo if you're talking about that. But I've just seen so many weird things just even above my house here in Missouri. It's like, holy cow, and then thinking about it all, and it's just like, well, what do I think? And I haven't come up with exactly what I think, but I'd like to know a little bit about what you think about this world now of aliens are real or normal now.
So there's things that you touched on that I totally understand, because I'm a Christian and I'm a proud Christian.
Okay.
However, that being said, it doesn't mean that I can't be a Christian and use my common sense. Okay.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Absolutely.
I feel like, and this is controversial and I might get stepped on for this, but I feel like the Bible is obviously man's interpretation of God's words. To me, it's not God's words. God did not come down and write that. It's not. There are bits of the Bible that have been taken out of the Bible. So when things like that happen, that's political. To me, the Bible is the first book on politics. Now, do I think Jesus Christ was here? Yes, I believe. I'm a Christian, and I found Christ. That's a whole different thing. But I don't know if Christ found me, but I found Christ. And I told you, I come from Jewish family. So how I found Christ was but anyway, to me, if God created everything, then why didn't God create aliens? Why does God have to look like who we think he is? Why can't God be an alien?
Yeah,
I don't care what God looks like. That's not what attracts me to God. What attracts me to God is the love, is all of the positive, the direction that it's been in my life, all of that. So I don't care if God is of earth form, of human form, or if God is of alien form. I don't care. I think when I was younger, I had a very specific picture.
Yeah.
That picture no longer matters to me. And then when you see, the lithographs from all those years ago before Christ, and you see the spaceships, like, where'd that come from? How that happened? How could you explain that? So there were chariots of fire. Those were spaceships. So I think that there's so much more that we can't see. And this is the way my brother explained it. Remember I said my brother's okay. So I have a brother who's very much into stuff like this. And he's like, how when a fan is moving really quick, you can't see the blade of the fan because it's moving really quick. So if there's something in time and in our presence like that, who's to say it's not there just because you can't see it? So now, remember I said I had a late ex-wife, right? So since she's passed away, I get these hearts that show up everywhere. Like I literally take pictures of these things that they're just hearts that show up. It could be from a cornflake. I mean, I just have all of these, like these pictures of, and I have them of just hearts that have appeared. So every time something like that happens, and every time it's like my views change a little bit. So I think Jen's probably right here, but I just can't see her. But I know sometimes she's like over my shoulder. Now, before that, I don't know that I thought that simple about it. But to me, it's that she's here. There's times that I'll talk to her. And there's times that I'll hear my dad say something when I do something and he was there, but I also feel like my dad is needed someplace else. And he's constantly, like, his spirit, his essence is there. But he comes and like checks on me on occasion and stuff like that. So I totally believe in like this after spirit or this after like life. I also, I believe in UFOs. I've seen, obviously anything you can't identify, that's what it is. But now, as they're sitting in Congress and they're talking about UFOs. Congress talking about UFOs and how they're seeing them and how they've seen them when they've flown airplanes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you're right, because that whole you're crazy bullshit is like, it's no longer, it is more like, well, who hasn't seen a UFO? You know what I mean? Like, and as far as Bigfoot, I think that there is anything out there. I haven't seen everything out there. You haven't seen everything out there.
Mhm.
There's so much that, if there is a Sasquatch out there, I believe that there is. I believe that there's more than one. Like my brother's like, there's more than one.
It's not the Bigfoot.
He's felt things out there. He's a hunter, and he felt things, and he, there, I believe him, there's things I don't believe that he says, but I mean, I totally believe bullshitting too. You know what I mean? So I know that there's presence of things that he couldn't explain.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I think that that it's, to me, it's okay that God goes hand in hand with things that I don't understand. That's okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, me too. The more I learn about God and the more I learn about the world and myself, the more I'm just like, okay, God, that's really cool. I really do. And it's even really hard to explain to people why I say that or how to explain it exactly. It's just, once you know, and I've known for a while, and one thing you were talking about, like the chariots of fire and in the Bible, I kind of believe that UFOs may in fact be angels and demons, because it talks about when what's his name, was it Isaiah or who was it that saw the wheel inside the wheel and all that stuff, that was heavenly
things like that. I've never read the complete Bible, so for me to tell you that I wouldn't be true, but I have read, I've read like obviously a Genesis, Revelations, and but I haven't read the whole Bible. I've read more than that though. I mean, don't get me wrong. And I used to regularly attend church, and I want to go back. I listen to the sermons now, and I mean, that's a really important part of my life is my Christianity. But I totally why did we have to put it in like a box? I mean, what I mean? Like, and I think that suits the purpose. That's where the politics come in, on you believing, we want you to believe a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not my God. That's not God.
Now, have you ever had a paranormal experience or something that was just totally out there that you can't explain, even if it wasn't paranormal?
I mean, she said the thing with like the parts.
Yeah, but I mean something.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, but something else. Is there anything else that you have experienced or know somebody who's experienced something that is just a little more out there that you can't explain?
Or something like that? Probably not, because I think that I would remember that. I mean, not anything like Jen and I. We saw, like I said, that UFO when we were driving to or from New York to Florida, and we saw these lights, and they were just way too low, and there was like, it couldn't have been. That I remember distinctly about that. God has just always been around in my life. I didn't know anything about God, and one day I had dislocated my hip as a child. I was playing football with my brother in the yard, the same brother who is, believes in all of this as well. And he didn't get off of me. And I want to say I was about 6 years old, and he didn't get off of me quick enough. So I went to pull myself from under him, and I pulled my hip out of my socket. So I had to go to the hospital. And then, my older brother had broken his arm like maybe a year or two before. I don't remember that because I was only 6 at this time. And when I went to go get my cast off, so I was in a full-length body cast. So I don't know how they take a cast off.
Wow.
I never thought about how they take a cast off, but they use a saw, right? So my older brother being typical older brother, it's like, they're going to cut your leg off and da, 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 da. So I was scared. And I remember my parents and we parked across from where they were going to take the cast off. And I remember just being scared, and I was on crutches and there was cars coming. So for some reason, I don't know why, I never did this before. I put my head down and I prayed to God. And I said, if you're there, I said, please don't let them cut my leg. And for some reason, I had the foresight to say, and please don't let me be afraid of that anymore. Right. So when I lifted my head up, there was no more fear. There was, and I mean, my prayer was a little bit more in depth, like, I don't know who you are. I'm not sure, but that was how my relationship began with God. Now, God wasn't anything that we spoke about in the home that I remember, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know where I got this from. So I'd like to say that was a gift from God, because since then I have had, a relationship with God. I know that wasn't paranormal, but still it was.
No.
I'll tell you something. Yes, I do. I have something I can share, and I actually have a picture of this.
Okay.
So I was very close with my 9th grade math teacher after everything I went through in Albuquerque, and having to, when my dad went into prison, like I said, my stepmom, brought me back, and I had to restart the 9th grade because, again, I'm waiting on school records. Like, I'm just, it was a shit show. But anyway, I had no desire to repeat the 9th grade. Like I was very resentful about that, but not anymore, because it ended up being one of the greatest things, because I met my 9th grade math teacher, who was like a second mom to me. And, like I said, I didn't have the greatest relationship with my mom back then. So this woman was like a staple in my life. She, and we had a falling out because of something stupid from me, as a kid, but had then always, for years, decades, friends. Well, I had just seen her, and we just had lunch, and about 11 days later, she died. I didn't know this. I did not know this, because it was around Thanksgiving, and then there's Christmas. And I'm thinking she's with her kids. She's with her kids. That's why I'm not hearing from her. She's busy. I get it. But then my birthday rolls around, and I'm like, I didn't get a card from her. Like, what's going on? And I try calling. And then my friend, who I've known forever, who knows who this person means to me, because they know me at the same time. We, said, and she tells me in a way that was very nice, and she was like, and Mrs. Lynch died. And I was like, what? And my knees buckled, and okay. So, I mean, so the next day, I'm obviously upset about this, and it stays with me. And the next day, I go to take my dog. I was living in Florida. I go to take my dogs to the doggy daycare that they went to while I went to work. Went this way every day. And I look in the mirror, and I see the puffy eyes and everything. And I said to myself, I feel like my youth is gone. I feel like I lost my youth. I get in the car. I take the dogs. And I'm stopped at a light, and I'm probably in the middle lane. So there's another lane next to me. And I think there's even another lane that you can make a right turn at. And I look over, and there's a sign that says, in memory of my real name's Youth.
Oh.
Nobody. That wasn't for me. That wasn't for me. That was in the parking lot of a CVS.
Wow.
Was in a parking lot of a CVS that had nothing to do with me, but everything in the world to do with me. Because 10 minutes before, what came out of my mouth was, I feel like I've lost my youth. And then that sign sitting in the parking lot, like, first of all, I almost didn't take a picture of that sign because I was like, oh, it figures. I mean, that's how much I feel like God has been in my life. But I was like, yeah, get a picture of that sign because nobody's going to believe it.
Yeah, definitely.
And sure enough, I got a picture of that sign. So that, I mean, coincidence? No, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't have to.
I don't believe in coincidence.
Then it didn't have to have my name. It didn't have to have what I said out of my mouth. I mean, it was just so.
It's too perfect.
Yeah. So yes, that's.
Yeah. Wow.
That's really awesome
story.
Yeah, and I like hearing stuff like that because I mean, so many people are just so close-minded about God, about all the weird things that happen, and they just kind of shut it down and don't want to go any further. And I like it when I'm able to talk to somebody, you know, and just have an open, honest discussion about what we think. And I really like I said, I really haven't developed any of my you know, theories or what I truly believe, because it's always evolving. But I'm excited every time I learn something new, because it just shows me how big and how awesome the world is and how big and awesome God is.
I don't think the God or the universe or whatever anyone believes in is really going to let us put it down, though. I feel like he or they or whatever just wants us to have conversation with each other and try and come up with our own conclusions and stuff, because I don't think we're ever going to get a perfect answer on what this stuff means. And I don't really believe in coincidences, and I just think that these little things in our life can be beautiful, and we need to pay attention to them, because maybe there's something we can learn from them, even if it is silly and there's really no greater meaning. If you can find a greater meaning within yourself and it means something to you, then that's really all that matters. So that's what I like to see and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
And I do.
No, go ahead.
I do feel like, you know. So I believe in God. There's no question about that. And I feel like, you know, I have a responsibility to leave this world either better or certainly not worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel as a child of God that is the very least that I can do, you know, for life, you know, and that's really important. I mean, don't go ahead. I just feel like, you know, when I've been lost, that's where I've gone.
Yeah.
You know, so and
no, I have to. I have to. That's I really lean on my faith a lot. And well, I tell you what, I've gone through a whole lot in this life, this little life that God's given me. And I'm just amazed every day that I wake up and that I'm happy and that everything is good.
Right? I definitely wouldn't have the same attitude if I had your life. I actually said that to someone the other day, but I said a little harsher.
Hey, you just have to
roll up the punches.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to do? Just be miserable?
No, I mean, I give you props. You do a really good job with everything that life's thrown at you. That's all I can really say with it. But do we want to get into one last break and then we can go ahead and end things off, or what?
Do you mind sticking around for one last break?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, we're going to listen to. We're going to listen to Monday by Tyree Woods. So
laid down on Sunday, dreading the morning to be dreading my life. I'm so tired of the paper chase, tired of the average pace, tired of the lies. When I woke up, the sirens went just as the ceiling fell. They stayed just in time. Make my way into the streets. No one was watching me. They ran for their lives. This communist field sky and the ground begins to shake. Then I'm still alive. But it's just a Monday for me. Who would have thought it'd be the end of the world? Just a Monday for me. Who would have thought it'd be the end of the world? Just a Monday for me. Who would have thought it'd be the end of the world? Just a Monday for me. Who would have thought it'd be the end of the world? Just a Monday for me. Who would have thought it'd be the end of the world? I'll be waiting in the morning light. The sun comes up to defeat the night. I'll be waiting in the morning light. I'll be waiting in the morning light. I'll be waiting in the morning light. The sun comes up, it's gonna be alright. I'll be waiting in the morning light. I'll be waiting in the morning light. I'll be waiting in the morning light. The sun comes up, it's gonna be alright. I'll be waiting. It's just a Monday for me. Who would have thought it'd be the end of the world?
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Into the Weeds. You messed me up.
Sorry, it made you laugh. They were doing the MB radio thing. I just started going, MBRadio.us, and she started cracking up. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to ruin that for you.
That's all right. Welcome back to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio with our guest, Toddie One Skip. I was going to say our host, our guest. And yeah, so we wanted to actually ask you, so like I said earlier, that I found you because I was trying to figure out more about Gypsy. And I figured we'd wait till the end because I don't want to make everything about her because she's annoying.
Relevant. We figured some people that were tuning in might be curious as to what some of your thoughts were. So what got you into the case? What's the whole deal with you and Gypsy?
Into the case? First, let me just tell you that I love the music and I think it's so great that you guys are pushing this music forward, because as somebody that, is old school, and it was so hard to get stuff out there for people to hear stuff. Like the internet has now become like there is no more gatekeeper. And the fact that, you know, you guys are promoting music that we wouldn't necessarily hear elsewhere is a great thing. So look out. No, I appreciate as somebody that owned a recording studio. And I mean, literally, I spent more money on promoting bands that I believed in, you know, than I did on being a successful recording studio owner.
And we're always welcome to promoting more. So if anyone has some original music that they'd be willing to sign over some of the licensing for, there's things that we can work out and stuff. But
if you want to be on rotation on everybody's podcast and on the radio station, you have to be a veteran, active military, or first responder. But if you want, but if you want to be on our podcast, you can just send me something, and I can get a permission, and I can play your music.
So, I'll play anybody.
Yeah,
that's great. That's really great. So what got me with Gypsy was, so I have a trigger for injustice, and I didn't know how to put that into words before, and it's only been recent that I've realized that and have said, you know what, this is what gets me in trouble, but this is the common denominator and everything that I can't shut up about. So I watched The Act, and I bought into that. I really did. And then, you know, and there were things that I don't know that stuck out, or that, you know, when people would say things, sometimes I would get a picture in my head of what it would look like, and that's what I would remember. So there was something that she said in The Act about when she had lost how that character, will say, that portrayed, you know, the Gypsy character, because we know that wasn't true, but it was about the phone and how she lost, how her mother was able to track her when she went to dance that time. So, and then I watched an interview, and I was like, well, that's not the same story. So I kind of put that in my back pocket. And then I started watching more stuff, and I was like, well, wait a minute, that's not the same story. And then I started watching her out of her own mouth. I was like, yeah, she can't keep it straight. So it was 3 different stories that I'm hearing about, like this one thing, and this one thing should matter. If you're going to run away, from home for the first time, you remember, you know, those things that you remember. So, you know, so the fact that she just didn't, and then there was just so much, I was like, oh, she's just full of shit, you know, and the whole world, why are we celebrating her? And so that's when I started like looking into, this isn't making sense to me. I want to figure it out. And it became a matter of, you know, I want to figure it out. So that's how, and I looked online, and I started, you know, seeing that there were more people that had the same theory that I did, that she wasn't abused, that half of her story wasn't true. I totally think that there was no Munchausen by proxy. You'll never, and now we'll never prove it, because the person that we have to prove it by is no longer here. I think her own behavior, which is so appalling. I mean, it's just so appalling, and it's in the face of everybody. And I don't see where that's making the world a better place. It's not. You know, I don't think that she should be an influencer, because she did the same thing that Charles Manson did. I don't understand. I just, and that's the thing too. It's like, I don't understand. And I think that I need to kind of understand things, you know, not even when I'm learning something new at work, it's like, yeah, but like, why does it do that? Like, why do we, you know what I'm saying? Like, in order, and it's not to question it. It's just to understand it in my head of how it works. And I still don't know how she works. I don't know why she's getting away with I don't understand the parole officer.
It's a very special circumstance.
It's very, you know, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for them. You would think it's embarrassing for them. And I thought that, you know, I don't know what happened today because I'll be honest, I came home from work and I went to sleep, but you know, like she has no business talking to any felon. Like she knows that. Everybody knows that. Like she's like, I don't understand why she's pushing it.
Well, actually, I don't think it really matters that we mentioned this, but we didn't actually realize for the longest time that she wasn't supposed to be talking to felons or talking to anybody from the prison. And for months, we've been told by her cousin who's in prison, not that she's telling her anything, but she said that, you know, word's kind of gone around the prison that she was kind of maybe sending pictures and telling about the pregnancy. And
she sent a sonogram.
Yeah, allegedly a sonogram.
Yeah,
I'm saying allegedly just in case there's any kind of, you know.
Right. Sure.
Went through the, you know, playing a game of telephone. Want to make sure we're not making any claims that are.
Yeah. I mean,
we've been hearing about this for months. So.
Yeah, we hear about a lot of stuff, and I keep a lot of it just to myself.
I didn't really feel comfortable talking about somebody else's pregnancy, you know, at least before she came out with it, because even though she's kind of a, you know, not a great person, in my personal opinion, pregnancy is a really hard thing. And I know that just people tuning in, like listening to that, people questioning pregnancy or wishing ill upon someone, because you don't want to wish ill upon that baby. That baby.
I don't want to wish ill upon the baby at all. Yeah. And I even said, you know, at some point I got to stop talking about her because once she becomes a mom, it's almost the same thing. You know, it is. It's almost the same thing. But, you know, I'm working on a video now. So that makes me wonder, you know, is she pregnant? Because there were some pictures that somebody had sent me. And then
her birthday and stuff.
There was stuff that was also said. And I was like, yeah, so this would be the excuse. And this would be, so yeah, I don't want to like spoil my video, but.
No, totally. Don't want to make you do anything like that. But it's definitely odd. We've questioned it ourselves for sure.
And it's funny because all along, okay, so before I followed anything about Gypsy, I followed stuff about Meghan Markle. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you what, these two ladies operate on the same level. And I'm shocked, to be honest, how much so. And I actually went and Googled who Gypsy's PR firm was, because I was like, are they working with the same people? And then so you bring that up, and you know, a lot of people have speculated whether Meghan Markle was pregnant or not, and I don't like to get into all that, but it's like, you know, sometimes you have to ask the question, and it's hard to know when it's appropriate and when it's not.
Oh, definitely. You know, but something I have to say, her having a PR team, like, I don't think the best PR team in the world isn't really going to do her a lot of help, because I think she lacks impulse control completely and totally.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think she just gets this thought, you know, and I try to give her grace, because you can imagine that anybody coming out of prison, especially if, you know, even if her mom wasn't as bad as she says she is, I'm still sure that was a really weird way to grow up. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure she had very limited contact with the outside world, and all of that stuff, it can be abuse in itself, you know, so I don't want to completely discount everything. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to give her grace, because it's like, you know, you can't just come out of prison and act perfect, you know, but goodness gracious, I mean, she's not even trying, and it's just messy.
Well, what I've been thankful for is that at first, when she did that Lifetime show, I was like, dang, you know, this really ticks me off. But now I'm actually kind of glad she did, because it shows the world exactly who she is. And it's like, oh, dang. If she's acting like this on this TV show that's edited, what's she like in real life?
Yeah, because they're probably putting her in a lot better of a light.
Well, you saw the deleted clip, right, where she got caught. Like, come on, phone, and she's laughing about it.
Yeah, I even see that she was laughing about how, like, she was talking to Ken from, like, since, like,
and how Ryan found out.
No, you didn't see that, and I didn't even watch the actual show. You've seen more of the show than I have.
And I've only seen a couple of episodes.
Yeah,
this was a deleted clip that somebody else put out, and it was from Lifetime, and it shows she's on the phone with Ken, and she tells Ken they're doing a video call, and she tells Ken, hey, guess what I found out? Ryan called, and Ryan said, guess what I found out? I found out you've been talking to that since mid-February. And, you know, and she's laughing about it. And she says to Ryan, are you going to subpoena my text messages? And he says, yep. And he says, yep. So, you know, she just, listen, she didn't have to. Ryan, I don't think is a fake person. I think he's a real person. I think he had real heart. And I think that the way that she treated him is unacceptable. I've been in situations where you're not sure how you feel about somebody. And, you know, maybe there's a confusion. But to rub that person's nose in it when all he did was love you. She used him. We all called it. He doesn't believe that because I think it makes him feel stupid, and it makes him feel like the love wasn't real. Nobody likes to take that. Nobody wants to believe that they put that into somebody and that it wasn't returned. But it's not him that looks bad. It's her that looks bad. Even if he let that happen, it's not him that looks bad. If he let it happen again, it's him that looks bad. You know what I'm saying? Because you live and learn. It's a life lesson. If he takes this and, you know, just becomes a better person, more informed and all of that, then, you know, it was a life lesson. And, you know, so it was a life lesson. You know?
He's kind of funny, though. Like, on all these lives, like with all of his polls and stuff. Oh my goodness! like green heart for me. No, he said rainbow heart for Ken.
I know. I heard him say, "How come all these rainbow hearts for Ken?" And you know, I think that was just exposed that the person that said that they were Ken's boyfriend, they finally exposed that person as he wasn't. I didn't think Ken was gay.
Not true.
I didn't
either. I don't know what I believe.
I
don't really think
Wood and the last name being Wood. I was like, you know, I do believe that somebody sent that to Nina. I do believe it. Yeah. You know, and you know, I like Nina. I have a problem with Fancy. We know this simply because you know, you just don't speak to people a certain way. And, you know, it was dishonest. I don't know if you saw this or not, and I don't mean to speak out of pocket. Sarah was on Uncorked with Brandy, Brande. Did you see that?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did
I think she watched the whole thing.
I watched the whole thing. She didn't, but what's up with
I did. I watched it on like a fast speed. Because it was long, but I was interested in it, and you know, and I obviously heard what you guys said and how you know you got charged for the one night of the hotel and how they tried to recharge you several times. The credit card company. I'm not going to say that they tried to do it. You didn't say that they tried to do it, but they did charge you the one time for sure, and you paid for the first night of the hotel. And Sarah, I really believe, thinks that Fancy did that. I really do think that Sarah believes that Fancy went in there and paid for that in cash because I think that that's what was told to her. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that happened.
Oh, no worries. I just want to say we just didn't know that she was trying to, like, we didn't know that she didn't have a credit card. So there's been a lot of like misunderstanding, people thinking that we're like switching up just because we don't really know how to talk about things like this. We're just learning and putting our words out there. And sometimes it's not made 100% sense. And maybe it wouldn't have even been that big of a deal if she would have just been very clear with us with the fact that she didn't have a credit card and that's what was happening and all that stuff. But she specifically went out of her way to be like, no, I've already taken care of it. And I think that's where the issue is. We don't think that anything like illegal happened or that we need to go after her in any way. And it's really not that big of a deal. And we don't really even feel taken advantage of because we knew what we were getting ourselves into to an extent, maybe not to that point.
Right.
But we only paid for what we were willing and offered to pay for.
Right.
You know,
Right.
And we didn't really get taken advantage of. We're fine.
And the thing is, and you know, my friend Sylvia, who, you know, I've talked about a few times, she's an older friend of mine. You know, again, I was looking for like second moms as I was growing up. Sorry about that, Mom, if you're watching this, because my mom and I are cool now. We've been cool for decades. But anyway, she said if it cost you $150, it was $150 well spent, wasn't it? Because now you know. So
no, taught us a lot.
and that's true, right? Because now you know the character of somebody. It costs you $150 to know that. So,
well, it's also like, you know, if we weren't there and the same situation transpired, if Fancy didn't have someone that was kind of normal to sit with her, you know, and who knows if she would have freaked out and if it would have gotten a lot bigger. And also, no one really know what to believe. And even if you don't believe us, that's fine. Like, there's no reason, you know, why you should, you know, believe us just for no reason, I guess. But, you know, I don't know. It's just, who knows what kind of narrative they could have spun without somebody being there to tell them, no, that's not what happened, you know? So,
well, it'll
somebody.
be interesting to see what happens with that. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that case.
Yeah, September's coming up real quick, and I don't know if she wants me to bring this up because we didn't even really talk about it, but Fancy tried to message her the other day, and I think that we should just not talk to anybody until September. So if Fancy or Sarah see this, if you guys really want to talk to us that bad, just wait a month or two, and then we'll have a nice conversation. But I mean, I just don't understand why they're making it so difficult on themselves. Like, we didn't want to see either one of them in trouble, but it's like at the point where it's like, if you can't shut up, then, you know, whatever comes to you is.
Yeah, well, since you brought it up,
Sarah,
she did ask me.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say she did ask me to speak to her, and I was going to speak to her, but I feel like it's probably not a wise choice because I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be rude, but I feel like the more I get involved in it, the less credible I look if I need to go to court. Even if Fancy's the one that has to call me, I would rather just keep myself clean for everybody.
Yeah.
I would agree 1,000,000% with that one. There's no reason. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. I don't see where that phone call would benefit you in any way, shape, or form. I think that it would only benefit her. And I don't think she has your best interest at heart. I mean, she showed you that for $150. Like I said, that was, think about that. Remind her, Laura, remind her of that money, because that is what I mean by saying that's the best $150 you might have spent, because Sarah's not talking about the lawsuit. Sarah's not, you know, she's not doing what Fancy's doing. I don't know what Fancy's doing. I think she's talking to Ryan again. It's such crazy. I would have backed away. It doesn't even matter. Her credibility is so gone now that it's really very sad, because I do think she put in a lot of work once upon a time ago. And I feel like credit was due, but I feel like this has all gotten out of control. I think she makes it worse, unfortunately. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't talk to somebody that you got a court case coming up. If you're called for a witness or anything, you talking to her can manipulate something if she wanted it to. 100%, you know, stay away from that situation.
Yeah. And I did want to clear up that I do not have Fancy blocked. So she keeps saying.
No, she doesn't have her blocked. Well, it seems like Fancy actually has you blocked on something. So if she can't comment, it might be because you're blocked on.
Yeah, I don't have her blocked. I don't have anybody blocked. I accidentally blocked a couple of people a while back, and
somebody else was controlling her chat just to monitor it, and it was just on accident.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to clear that up, and I just wanted to also clear up, you know, that no matter what, you know, I'm thankful that we went. I'm thankful that we experienced what we experienced. And at the end of the day, I'm a better person, no matter what.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I also see her just wanting to be a martyr for the cause. And I think that if she gets put in jail over this, it's going to make her think she has more credibility. And I think that that might be part of the reason why she won't shut up about some of this. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to make any kind of bold claim.
Yeah, I don't think she's trying to be incarcerated. I just think this is a matter of pride and stubbornness, and I think there's some mental health issues going on there. Like, why the hell?
Definitely, and I empathize.
Freedom, you would have to be incarcerated in a place you don't even live. She lives in Kentucky, from my understanding.
No, you're right. You're right.
So I don't see that. I just she's like Gypsy in the sense that she just can't get out of her own way. She's got to get out of her own way. And I've listened to Ryan Lee. I think that there are things that Ryan says that could be very eloquent, to be honest with you. And there's things that Ryan says, and I'm like, but I always thought that they did well together, simply because I thought that Ryan kept her in line. I've always said that, so maybe Ryan can help her during this time. I was shocked that, that they reconnected.
Me too.
I'm wondering, as I say it out loud, I'm wondering if it's real. I'm wondering if there isn't something behind the scenes that, like, nothing would surprise me. But I just wish that, Fancy would get out of her own way. I don't think everybody, I think that people were willing to give her the credit that she deserved. I don't know what more she wanted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I certainly gave her credit, I said it all the time, but, after what happened, and, I just couldn't co-sign the way she spoke to people after she asked for money and people gave her money. Because I got on my channel and told people, I'm going to donate, if you guys want to. She sent me my money back. I don't know if there was anybody from my channel that donated, but why would you speak to them like that? They just gave you money,
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've got to go because another veteran is coming up next after us. But Toddie, can you just let everybody know where to find you and what you got coming up next?
Yeah, Toddie1skip@gmail.com. I'm working on a really important interview, a video where I spoke to Rebecca Michelow, Corey Michelow's grandmother. Corey was the 6-year-old boy who was unalived by his dad. Unfortunately, you guys might know him from the treadmill video. So I'm working on that. That was a great interview that I did with Rebecca Michelow. Yeah, so I'm working on that. And some Gypsy Rose stuff and some other stuff that I'm working on. But thank you for having me. And I do enjoy your podcast. I love the music and I love the topics of the stuff that we can't explain.
Thank you very much, Toddie. And like I said, I'm very thankful that you jumped in here at last minute. And so everybody go follow Toddie. And we thank you for watching us tonight. And come back next week. And we're going to have P. Dinah as our guest next week.
Yes.
So thank you very much, everybody. And I hope everybody has a blessed week.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye.
Get ready for an epic collaboration as MB Radio and Patriot Radio join forces. These veteran-owned